Good morning, folks. I'm going to start off with a confession. I want to get this out up front. I love data. No, scrub that, I really love data. I've did 3 6-year studies in maths. I've got a degree in actuarial maths and statistics. And also as a Scotsman watching the football, data is really important to me. It gives me hope. There's still a mathematical possibility of qualification. I want the people in the room to love data too. That's a bit of a hard ask, but data is really powerful. Data can help us improve employee engagement, it can help us to improve return on investment, and it can help us improve workforce resilience. So by the end of this presentation, I want everybody in this room to love data just a little bit more. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about DNA. So DNA is the material that defines us. Every single person in this room's DNA is unique to them. That uniqueness is the substance that carries the information that makes us who we are. Businesses have their own DNA as well. Every business is different. Every business's DNA is different. That's their employer DNA. The genetic makeup of every workforce is different, and that's something that's really, really important. So I'm going to start talking about data and research that we've done. And the data and research is really, really powerful. We do a lot of research at Barnett Waddingham. We're really proud of it. It is very powerful. The research we've done was based on 3,000 employees, so it's statistically sound. It tells us a lot. But the really important thing to remember when I'm going through statistics and when you're reading statistics and publications is that's just about the general population. The employer DNA of your business may be different, and we see this consistently. The high-level information gives us details about wider demographic groupings, but it doesn't tell us everything about an organisation. So what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about data, but it's always important to remember that what's behind the headlines? What is unique to your organisation? We're going to start off talking about the difference between positive and negative resilience. So there's a few slides where I'm going to talk about the difference between positive and negative resilience. So just before I do that, I'll explain what we did here. So from those 3,000 employees, we narrowed it down into different groups. We moved the big chunk in the middle, and we left those with positive resilience, so those that have got the traits of highly resilient individuals. So lots of positive indicators, and we compared this with the opposite end, so the positive resilience against negative resilience. And then from that, we've brought lots of data around the difference between someone who's got positive resilience and the difference against someone with negative resilience. We thought it was actually going to be quite interesting, but to be honest, the results are absolutely profound. There's a massive difference between a resilient individual and someone with negative resilience. And the key message there is that as an organisation, if you can invest in improving the resilience of your workforce, it really will pay dividends. There's lots happening on this slide, but just want to pick out a few key points for you. You'll see the big one that's 60%, and that's showing that those who have got negative resilience, 60% of them almost, so 6 out of 10 have got no coping strategies in place. By contrast, if you look at those that have got positive resilience, it's a really good story. They're getting more sleep, they're taking responsibility, they're asking others for help, they're getting more exercise. So it's really interesting to see that and think about the difference. People in your workforce that you improve their resilience against those that have got negative resilience. So thinking about resilience, it takes many different forms. Financial resilience is one that's really important because that then has a knock-on impact. And financial resilience actually plays quite a big impact. But in our research, it showed that 42%, so 4 out of 10, don't have any emergency funds. That's a little bit scary. So that's as the UK population as a whole. But even more worryingly, is about a quarter of them said that they feel it's absolutely impossible to set up an emergency fund. Your own numbers may be different. It's important to remember that. So going back to the point I said at the start is your workforce makeup may not be exactly the same as UK PLC. So let's go behind the numbers and see a little bit more information about this. as someone who likes data, it's always great to look behind the headline numbers because they tell stories that you think might not actually be the case. So there's a little bit of a gender imbalance there. So females finding it more difficult to set up emergency funds than males. But the correlation with age is probably not what you would expect. So you have people in the younger age groups that there's less likely to have issues with setting up emergency funds. It's actually those in the older age groups that are really struggling to set up emergency funds. That's probably not what you were thinking would be the case. So, who's the responsibility around this? And this is one which always really interests me, is we ask people who they think had the responsibility for financial resilience. So does the employer have an ethical responsibility to provide additional support during a recession? 61%, 6 out of 10, said their employer has got an ethical responsibility to provide financial support. And if we look at that just in a little bit more detail, there's not too much of a difference between the genders here. But the key point is that the younger generations, there's a correlation with age. So younger generations feel there's more responsibility for the employer. So what we're seeing is that figure is going up over time. Younger generations are expecting the employer to provide support. And it's 70%, 7 out of 10 in those groups. It's still pretty notable in the later age groups as well. Okay. So one of the things that really impacts resilience is the idea of social support and social networks. And social networks can take lots of different forms. They could be from your family, it could be a wider social network, and that indeed could include colleagues and social networking within the workplace. But what we've seen here is that there's a massive difference for those that have got access to a social network. So 81% of those who were in the positive resilience group said they had access to mental health support from their social network. That drops by almost half for those with negative resilience. So the negative resilient population don't have the same level of support available either from family or from the wider social network. So it's a great area in the workplace. We can help people to network internally, and that can really help the improve resilience. So what can employers do about this? How can we improve the sense of belonging? How can we improve resilience? We asked the respondents this question and they gave us an answer which I'll bring up now. And to be honest, it's not overly helpful. Well, it is in a way, but it's not overly helpful. So we asked them to say which one of these actions would help you to feel like you belong in the workplace. And look at the numbers. You couldn't have planned this. They're all 57 or 58%. So unfortunately, there's not really a straightforward answer. The top 5 answers all scored pretty much the same. So the truth is that, to improve a sense of belonging, there isn't a silver bullet. It needs to be a combination of lots of different interventions. So taking an interest in their development, inclusive working environments, engaging communications, wellbeing support. So there's lots that you can do, but you need to do multiple things to improve that sense of belonging. Okay. So finally, in terms of the statistics, I just wanted to talk about the link between resilience and productivity. Now, if there's one thing you remember from my presentation, please remember this slide. There is a massive link between resilience and productivity. So the higher the resilience, the higher your productivity. We've shown some examples here, but the key thing to note is that the resilience levels, the productivity levels for the highly resilient is almost double someone who is in the negative resilient group. So it's like, how do you double your productivity? It's if you improve your resilience, move people from being low resilience to high resilience, you can improve productivity, and that can really impact the bottom line. Okay, so as I said before, all of that is really interesting, but that's looking at UK PLC. Each organisation in this room has got a very different makeup. They've got a different makeup from other organisations. They've even got a different makeup from their key competitors. One of my pet hates is when we go to do benefit strategy work and they say, we need to do what our competitors are doing. Is your competitor's workforce exactly the same demographic makeup as you? Do you pay them the same? Do they work in the same locations? Probably not. There might be some similarities, but you need to put benefits in place that suit your own demographic. So you need to understand your own DNA to do that. So where can we get data? Well, there's lots of data available. I'm just going to touch on a few of the different areas and talk about the data that's actually available. So providers are giving us more and more data. So traditionally PMI is the benefit where you get lots of data, but not all employees have PMI. But I would say to you that you should be really challenging providers to provide more data for you. So cash plan providers, your employee assistance data. Have you really looked at your employee assistance data? See who's using which facilities? And think about the use of EAPs. There's lots of free EAPs with different benefits. If you can pick one that's got some management information there, it's really, really powerful. So we are seeing more and more providers providing more and more data. And it's something that I challenge regularly when I'm talking at industry events, challenging the providers to provide us with more data. But there's also all the people data. You know your own people. Employee surveys can give us so much information, but focus groups and workshops to really help you to understand your employees, and even stakeholder interviews. So we carry these out on behalf of our clients, where we go around and speak to different stakeholders in different parts of the business, and they're just really, really insightful. So they can get behind the numbers, help us to understand what's happening on the ground. And then you've got all the HR stuff. You know who your people are, you know who your demographic are, where they live, how much they're paid. You've also got absence, leavers data, and also office attendance data as well. And just if you do have office attendance data, it's a really interesting one, just to link resilience with office attendance and productivity with office attendance as well. So you can do things like that. We do help our clients to do that, but it's something you can also look at doing yourself. My favourite area when it comes to data is wellbeing analytics. We have our own tool to do this, and this is just some screenshots from the dashboard. And what we're doing here is we're ranking workplace wellbeing on a scale of 1 to 10, and we then highlight the particular areas. And this is an anonymised real-life example where there was 2 different locations, and overall there wasn't much difference in the scores. But just if you look at the health pillar, there's quite a noticeable difference in the health pillar. And there's even more profound right across in the work-life balance down in the bottom right-hand corner. There's a really, really massive difference between work-life balance. Interestingly, in this example, the policies for work-life balance were exactly the same in both locations. It was actually just down to local management and how they were implemented. So you've got consistent policies across the organisation, but local management were imposing those policies in a different way, which then had a massive impact on work-life balance. So there was an inequity in that, but it was one that was quite easy to solve. So that this organisation then worked with the management in location 2 to re-educate them about what the policies should be and how they could be implemented. And we automatically saw an increase in the work-life balance score there. Okay, so there's lots of things we have as HRP and reward people to be able to use, but it's really important to use the right intervention at the right time. So what do I mean by that? Well, if we just flip on and look at this, we carry out something called absence management process reviews. But basically the idea of it is there's lots of things that we have, the different tools that are around the outside. So we've got early intervention services on income protection, we've got cash plans, employee assistance programmes, occupational health, virtual GPs, mental health first aiders, private medical insurance. I'm listing them all to make the point there's quite a lot of them. But have you got a process so that you know which intervention you should put in place at which time? We've done lots of work on this, and just to give you a real example, we did work with a big animal charity, and we moved a lot of the spend that they had on occupational health to the early intervention services on the income protection. So we saved them tens of thousands of pounds in terms of occupational health spend. more people were getting the early intervention access through the group income protection, which in turn actually improved the group income protection rates, because the group income protection early intervention was happening from an earlier stage, which meant less people were reaching the deferred period and actually becoming claimants. So it's a really interesting example. By using the right intervention, you can save money and you can improve your rates if you do it. It also improves the employee experience as well, because you're delivering the best experience you can to your employees. So there are lots of preventative measures around. So why do we bother? We bother because preventative measures can drive positive change. They can mitigate premium increases, which help improve the bottom line. But ultimately, they improve workplace resilience, and that's the key point. We want to improve workplace resilience because the statistics show us it can really impact the bottom line. Okay. I want you to make better use of what you got. There's lots of value-added benefits around. I'm going to show you a really scary slide. Right? This is work we did for one organisation, and it's an ugly slide, but it makes a very important point. So we've got all the benefits along the top. We've got all of the value-added services that you get free of charge from those benefits. So this is a slide you probably want to remember. It's a really complicated picture. Some of them can be switched off, some can't be switched off. There's two life assurances in this case that provide completely different things. It's really interesting is what on earth do you do with this lot? There's so many different interventions. So if we flip on, I'm going to present this information in a different way. In this example, this single client got one dental support, that's Tooth Fairy by the way. They've got 3 different elder cares, but on the column at the 5, they've got 5 virtual GPs available, 5 bereavement councils. It's pretty crazy, isn't it? So that's all included within the rates that they're paying. So which ones do you actually bother using? So prioritise them based on data. What's your data saying? What do you actually need? What's covered? How is it accessed? What MI is available? The MI point's really important. If you've got an employee assistance programme that has management information, I would suggest you think about using that one. What's included, and are you going to move provider? So if you start promoting something that's there with your private medical insurance and you're going to move provider, it's probably not a good idea. It's not easy to do this, but it's something that's really important to think about. Okay. Just for the last few minutes, I just want to take you through some really key points around my top 3 tips for grabbing employee attention and driving utilisation. So data can improve engagement. So I told you I love data. There's so much that you can do around data tools. Come and speak to us at Stan, we'll show you some funky data tools that can really help to improve workplace resilience. But you've got the data and you can do this yourself as well. The other thing is just think about driving everything through one central hub. So almost every one of those voluntary benefits, vaulted additional benefits, were through an app, right? So if that client had implemented all of those, they would have 7 apps to download. That's just not sense. So if you have got a flexible benefit platform, it's really important to try and drive traffic through that flexible benefit platform rather than just have all the focus on one single benefit. It's a really powerful way to drive people. It could be your intranet, it could be a flexible benefit platform. That's our flexible benefit platform, by the way. And the final one, which is my personal favourite that I wanted to end on, is when you're communicating products, don't communicate the details of the products to say we've got an employee assistance programme that gives you 8 counselling sessions and has financial help available. Share stories. Stories really help people to engage. So this is, we have people like me that share different stories. You know, so I had a fight with my neighbour about where the fence was, and I called my employee assistance programme, and they helped me tell me the legal position. I'm now friends with my neighbour, that sort of thing. I'm really distracted about elder care. I don't know where to go. I've got an elderly relative that's really, really struggling. How do I navigate the care system? I went to the elder care benefit. They helped me out. They gave me a care plan. They told me what funding was available. Personal stories resonate so much more with employees. So, that's me done. Just a couple of things. We're available to speak to at stand 79. So get that door, walk straight ahead. You'll see the big 4Me logo. That's the name of our Flex platform. We also have some smoothies on the table, and I've seen a lot of you have been drinking them. There's more smoothies available there as well. They're healthy, they're nutritious, and they also give you a boost of energy. So if later on today you're feeling a little bit down, a little bit lethargic, come and have a turmeric shot and it will change your life, I promise. Okay, that's me. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, David.